I've never worked in a commercial gallery. I actually didn't know how it was supposed to operate. I was probably, again, one of the first galleries to put their pricing online.
Definitely the first.
I brought in $100,000 that first year. Early March 2020, I took a lease with a 300 square metre space. And that Monday, we all went to lockdown. Art deserves to be taken off the gallery wall. You can be emerging and any age. And I want everyone to understand and know that.
I'm Linda Habak, and this is Build Beautiful, where design meets depth. On a busy stretch of William Street in Sydney, behind large glass windows, sits a gallery that invites you in. It's called Curatorial Co, and at its heart is Sophie Vander, a founder, a mother of 4 daughters, and a woman who's quietly reshaped how we discover and experience contemporary art. What started as a small online platform is now a vibrant space filled with light, emotion, and purpose. But this isn't just a story about a gallery. It's about the vision behind it and the woman who dared to build something bold, accessible, and deeply personal. In this episode, we talk about creating a business with soul, balancing motherhood with ambition, and what it means to lead with heart. We explore Sophie's evolution, the quiet courage behind her success, and the legacy she's crafting, not just in the art world, but at home with her 4 daughters watching. This episode is for anyone navigating their own duality, career and children, ambition and intuition, art and business. Because when you lead with soul, beauty and success follows. Welcome to my conversation with Sophie.
Wow,
hello.
Intro. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for having me. What a joy to be here. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. I think I was saying to you before that I feel like we've led parallel lives. We celebrated 10 years of your gallery last Friday, and I was there, and it was super fun. But your speech really touched me, and it really resonated with me because you talked about building this business in and around your family. And family first, and your mum was the photographer, and you had one of your 4 daughters there. The others are all off doing amazing things. Yes. Exactly. Your husband helps you with the finances, and I feel very aligned to that story. And I think you're an amazing example of someone who can have a family, prioritize family, but still create something absolutely incredible. And I really want to talk about that today. And the other thing I want to highlight is that I feel aligned with you on the basis that you democratized art. You made it accessible and approachable. Studio LHD is all about approachable design, approachable luxury. And so I feel like we're very aligned on that.
I feel like we are too.
Yeah.
We are parallel sisters.
We are parallel sisters, exactly. But let's get into the conversation. I want to understand what was the motivation when you started Curatorial Co, because it started as an online business. So talk me through what was the thinking, why?
I studied art originally, studied to be a curator of fine art theory at COFA at the time, 30 years ago, and couldn't get my foot in the door in the early mid-90s in Sydney. I didn't grow up in Sydney. I didn't have a legacy of art in my family as far as that goes. And in the 90s, you couldn't really... there was just nowhere to be during that time unless you knew somebody. And I tried really, really hard and kind of accidentally ended up off course for 20 years as a magazine editor, but then moved overseas with our family to America and then to Singapore. And that was 10 years of me rearing the girls. So 2 were born in Sydney and 2 were born in Seattle. And I freelanced as an editor in Seattle for, 7 years. And then in Singapore, I wasn't allowed to work because of the visa, but I get bored very, very easily. So I just poured myself into everything else that I could in that community. But then I had this light bulb moment. I knew we were only going to be there for 3 years. I knew we were coming back to Sydney. And I remember sitting bolt upright at 3 o'clock in the morning going, I know what it is. It's a curated online gallery, because I had to think about the girls. They were still very young and I couldn't be in a gallery full time, but how am I going to do this? And honestly, it was just a light bulb moment. And I don't know where it came from. It was just very, very strange.
Intuition, maybe?
It was intuition. So literally, I remember being in our temporary accommodation in this random, really bad apartment in Lane Cove that my husband's business had put us up in. And I'm getting logos designed by 99 Designs from this designer from the other side of the world. And it just kind of all happened. I remember it literally started. Wow. And then on the 9th of October 2015, exactly 10 years ago, I hit go on the site. And I had friends who were in web development, so they helped me, which I'll be forever grateful for. But I knew that Australia had online galleries, but they were the kind of drop ship style of like Saatchi art, where you have thousands of artists that show their work on the platform and then ship it from their studio. So they were operating as like a marketplace rather than a curated place. So I believe I was one of the first in Australia to do that. So I actually, quote unquote, represented artists during that time. But I also, to start it, no one knew who I was. Like, I didn't know who I was. So I would buy art wholesale and then resell it. And that's how I started, because no one was going to take me on, really having no presence.
What was that like? Like, how were you finding the artists at that time? Because that's the one thing I remember way back when you started, because I bought art from you, and I remember driving up to Pimble and, picking up my little and it was for me. Yeah. It wasn't even for a client back then. And I just thought, I love what you're doing. So how did you find the artists at the time? Because I think your eye is amazing. You found an amazing collection of artists and works that were beautiful, unique, forever pieces at really affordable prices.
So I have a great deal of respect and love for two of my artists, particularly Kate Benazzi and Susie Giroux, who've been with me right from the beginning. And they took a chance on me when, like I said, I literally was nobody and I just had this random online gallery. My artists originally were actually all over the world. That happened because of just living all over the world. That I'd made contacts around and had, my feelers out around that. So I was actually buying art from the UK and the US and throughout Asia and kind of brought them together in Australia. But now more of my artists are Australian. And I think I did that just it was just a logistics point of view very early on, because I didn't really know the Australian market 10 years ago, because I hadn't been here for 10 years. So I had to just go with what I knew.
But also what I love is that it was a total fresh set of eyes.
Yeah,
like
maybe,
you were you came in, you were the new guard almost. Like you just came at it totally left of field to what already existed, I think.
Well, thank you. And I didn't see it like that. It was more just that I went with my gut again. And so for me, when I'm choosing artists, and yes, Instagram's huge.
And back then, like pre-Meta buying Instagram, because I've been on Instagram from the beginning too, that's actually how I consumed art, design, architecture. That's where I found everything that inspired me. That's where I found Kate Benazzi's work.
Oh, right. Wow.
I bought a piece before you even represented her.
There you go.
It's much harder these days with the algorithms and all the ads that we're fed. But what does it look like now? So you've grown with these artists. Yes. Many of them have stayed on for the whole 10 years. Yeah. How are you both growing?
Yeah, well, Kate is so strong in everything she does, and I throw random ideas at her and she just blows me away with her concepts. Like you saw at our 10-year show, like that paper installation that she did, and she just makes it look really easy. But like, she's always been a successful artist and collaborator. She's just got a bazillion ideas, and I feel like she's just always been hugely successful. She's taking me along for the ride. Honestly, that's how I feel about her. And Susie Giroux likewise. I feel like Susie was probably more emerging when I met her, and the two of us have kind of grown together, and we've been able to do really amazing things together, and her career has grown. So I think that where I am at 10 years later is we started off with very emerging artists, and now they have grown and become successful. Some have left and gone on to do amazing things. As a gallery who was online doing pop-up shows, I felt very, very responsible for their careers in a way that I couldn't support them in a gallery environment. Mm-hmm. So I was always very, you should go and do that as well. Or, you should go work with that gallery. And it's bitten me in the backside a few times where I'm like, you should definitely go and work with that gallery in Queensland, which happened. And then that gallerist said, actually, we're going to take her on completely Australia-wide. And I lost her because I couldn't support her in that way, but I had, found her essentially. So I felt like I had imposter syndrome, and that I was like, I wasn't good enough for these artists yet. it's taken a long time to figure out that we are, and I am, and we do support them significantly. And our artists understand that now. But certainly many years ago where I didn't have a bricks and mortar gallery, it was like, I'm not doing enough for them. I'm selling their work, but I can't give them an exhibition program that goes forward. So I had to mature and grow with them to now be the point where they are mid-career artists and no longer emerging artists. That's where our business model has changed now, that we can have these incredible emerging artists, and I'm still finding emerging artists, whether they're straight out of university or whether they're in their 50s and 60s and coming to their creative career later, which actually is the most fascinating and enjoyable thing for me, is particularly women who come to their creative careers or their art career after another life. Like Caroline Duffy, who's in her mid-70s, and she's just built the most incredible cardboard installation, site-specific installation in our window. She's got more energy than all of us put together. I love women who weld, Some of our most incredible First Nations artists didn't start painting till they were 70 or 80. Yeah. So you can be emerging and any age. And, I want everyone to understand and know that. So you can still have in your 50s, you can still have an incredible 50-year career in the arts. Yeah. Doesn't matter when you start. Yeah. I've forgotten your question, but how do I find the artists? I can find them straight out of university. I can find them at the other art fair. I can find them, yes, on Instagram. I figure if they've already made it into magazines or other galleries, then I won't necessarily go there with them, because I'm about discovering the undiscovered gem. And I love that. And
that is really what I think you have done all these years. That's
Thank you.
What I associate you with, actually, is just finding really interesting artists doing really interesting work.
And I think that's what I love about that interesting work is really important, because I think you can have these traditional mediums, whether it's painting or sculpture or textile work, and all of the artists that I work with do something weird and wonderful and interesting and unexpected with the medium. I love painters who actually use ground up marble dust in their work to create texture, or found objects to make sculpture in a way that's really unexpected, like Amber Hearn, who fills her sculptures with found objects from op shops. We don't know what's in there, and it's a secret, and she'll never tell us, but we know there's something weird and wonderful in there. But we'll never know what it is. Yeah. Like, I love the intrigue and the sense of
almost like
of
magic.
Wonder.
Wonder and magic. It's beautiful. I love that.
So I think for me, it's about artists who are doing interesting things with a traditional medium and turning it on its head somehow. And they're the people that intrigue me. And, I have every week I'll have a dozen artists reach out to us.
Right. So they're coming to you now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Of course. I mean, there's only so many, you know, I'm sure there's a strategy behind your selection process.
I'm not sure of strategy. You know what it is? It's just...
If there's a process, there must be. So how do you...
It's a second.
Really?
It's a second.
So tell me about that.
Literally I'll open an email, see a portfolio, or see a link to Instagram. And it's a split second, I know, either way.
That's it. It's a gut instinct moment.
It's a gut instinct to then investigate further.
Got it.
So it's then, this is interesting. What else is this? Who is this person? Where have they come from? Where have they been hiding? And often it's the 50-year-old woman who's been hiding somewhere. And she's gone. Like recently I had someone send me an invitation to an exhibition, and I'm guessing, but think she's probably in her 50s, and she'd gone back to TAFE to study ceramics. And she sent me an invitation to her grad show, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And I was like, please send me a catalogue. And she's like, I don't have one yet. I'm like, I'll wait. You just send me one when you've got it. Usually if I go to that trouble, I will wait for you.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be
special.
Worthwhile. Yeah. So it has to move me. It has to be something I haven't seen before. There's always this very fine line. I don't know if it's fine line. For me, it's a great big fat marker between decorative art and fine art, and that probably sounds very wanky and very art talk.
I want to stay here and unpack that.
But
That's
it's
super important.
hard, and I don't want to say that the decorative artists are not artists. They are 100% artists, and they are doing it from their heart, and they have to make and they have to create. But for me, there has to be something more behind it. It has to move me. And I'm not saying that that doesn't move other people. 100% it will. If you want to buy it and love it enough to have it on your wall, then it's yours.
It moves you.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's very personal.
But I find decorative art can often be a tick box. It's like from a design perspective, it's a tick box. It fits into a scheme. And I don't procure art like that. And I wouldn't recommend clients to procure art like that. I think art needs to move you, and you need to see it and love it and receive joy from it.
Absolutely.
Daily.
Joy or challenge.
Or challenge. Yes, absolutely.
I don't think you have to live with art in a way that only brings joy. I think it can be a conversation starter. It can challenge you in a way that's like ugly pretty, and you're like, kind of like that, but I don't know why I like that. You know, something that's a little bit off about it in a good way. Yeah, when people come into your home and they're like, whoa.
It's
What's
the conversation
story?
starter. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. How was it received? How was the business, the idea received by the industry? I imagine maybe there was some
Bit of a rebel.
Yeah, bit of a rebel.
And I'll tell you what it was. It was pricing online.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was actually create a space that was really special and unique, and that every piece that I sold on there was still one of a kind. Like, I wanted to kind of boycott the art print from IKEA. Like, that's going to end up on the hard rubbish collection. Instead, spend that few $100s on an emerging artist and keep that forever, and support them as an emerging artist growing their career, connecting emerging collectors with emerging artists and see where they go. The way to do that for me was to be really open and honest with the platform. So I was probably, again, one of the first galleries to put their pricing online.
Definitely the first.
Pre-COVID. let's be clear. Pre-COVID. Post-COVID, totally different story. And I think with COVID, I was therefore really ready to go because everything was, I already had a very strong online platform. But putting the pricing online, I think artists were ready for it, right? Particularly emerging artists who just wanted to build their craft and their platform and like sell their work.
They just want a good representation, right? They want someone to believe in them, someone to put them forward, market them well, because often creatives don't know how to market themselves.
And I think coming from a magazine background, I was already well equipped with how to get our artists out there. So I knew the magazines. I knew how to loan works to stylists and designers to get into photo shoots, to get into magazine shoots, to get them PR and marketing that way. So there were lots of things that I did. I don't think that a lot of galleries did then. It's certainly grown in that area now, and lots of galleries are loaning works out to photo shoots. But back, I feel like I've skipped a bit, but like back then, that I think became the catalyst for what I do now from an art consultancy perspective, because making the decision to put the pricing online and being really transparent and open with that opened up a whole world. And that world was design. So designers and architects could then place works in projects that they knew would fit into budget. And that, you know, at the beginning, middle or end of a project, a designer can say, actually, okay, we've got this budget. Let's put this work here. I know that's going to work. They can take the images off the website and place them into presentations with permission and go forward from there. Whereas before, I think it was just a really scary, unknown space where people were like, I don't know if this is $100 or $100,000. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And art doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to break the bank. And I think people are pleasantly surprised when they see the value of the work, that actually, you know, oh my God, this is a massive work. It's a metre by a metre and it's by an emerging artist and I can still afford it. It's
absolutely.
$2,000 or something. So
exactly.
And that's kind of where I started. I guess that transparency was super important to me from the beginning. Secondly, art is for everyone and everyone is welcome.
Yeah, I love that.
So fast forward now to our big gallery space and even the space we had before in Redfern, that was like, the door is always open. You are always welcome. Everyone is welcome inside. You can have dogs and kids and I don't know, iguanas. I don't care. Come in. It's for everybody. And that's been our philosophy from the beginning.
Going back, staying with the online store for a moment, Did you get pushback? Did you hear whispers through the industry? Like, was there any, do you want to share?
No, look, I think I just had my head down, bum up, just focused
in your
on
lane.
me. Yeah, I was just in my lane. And because I've never worked in a commercial gallery. I actually didn't know how it was supposed to operate.
So do you feel like you were building the car as you were driving it?
Oh, 100%. Still am today.
That's amazing.
I still have no idea what I'm doing until I'm doing it.
Oh, we're all a bit
There
like
you
that
go.
at the moment.
And I think no one really says that often enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Until I say it and then I hear, no, none of us know what we're doing. So
everyone's giving it a red hot crack, trying their best.
Yeah.
And I think, that's the point, is supporting each other to do that, because ultimately, we're all working to one common goal, and it's to transform lives through art and design.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And, designers aren't necessarily built as business owners or economists or financial experts. Like, we're kind of all making it up as we go along. But for me, it was, a really strong intuition that has propelled me forward. And I can't tell you what that is. I don't think I've learnt it, although I'm learning every day, of course. But the online gallery for me was just a means to an end, or the beginning of something for me to operate in a way that suited also being a mother of 4.
And I can see that the growth of your business over the years has really been parallel to the growth of your family over the years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it had to be like dining room table and spare bedroom to dining room table and Kennard self-storage units and pop-up shows around Sydney and Melbourne. And I was able to do that alongside always being available for the girls. And then when I realised I'd outgrown the Kennard self-storage unit and I needed an actual office or a space for people to come to, it was no longer just my house, then taking a small shop front right around the corner from the girls' school on a busy highway where, we've got a doctor's surgery and a Domino's. No one was opening a gallery on the Pacific Highway in Pymble. And still to this day, people go, oh, you're that gallery in Pymble. I'm like, yeah. And actually when we left, another gallery moved in, which was funny.
Amazing.
But
paving the way.
Well, I don't know, but it was just a space for my girls to walk to home from school. They could walk together before I drove them home. And then my mum also started working at the school, and then they could go to her when I couldn't be there, and she would drive them home. So there was definitely that community of support around me.
So you built the business around your needs.
And I had to. It's like, you can, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. And I just had it like bit by bit by bit. And it's been I say a slow growth, but I also feel like it's been I think the first 5 years was slow, but the second 5 years have been very, very fast.
Very
I feel
fast,
like that's just kind of been a bit nuts in a good way.
But I think that's a reflection of who you are. Because I think you are very driven in the best possible, sometimes I think when I say ambitious, there's a negative connotation around that sometimes.
Only for women.
Only for women.
Actually.
But I think it's amazing, and I've watched your journey over the years, and I think it's awe-inspiring. I love what you've done. I think you're an amazing example of what it is to build something really meaningful and profitable. The progression it's had over the years, especially in the last 5 years, it's amazing. You just keep going. Keep going.
I don't think ambitious should be a dirty word. I
agree.
I think if you're going to have a successful business, support artists, support your employees, and support yourself and your family. You have to be ambitious. I mean, I'm never sitting still. There's never resting on laurels. It's always like, what can I do next? What's the growth mindset? And trying to feed that into your team as well is super important. It's like, we're not just going to come in and do the job. It's like, come in, do the job to get to what's next and what's coming after that. Every little step I was making along this way, I always knew it was going to grow. There was a slow snowball, but hopefully it doesn't end as an avalanche, but that it just keeps, it does keep growing and rolling along. And I can never see us, just kind of stepping back and going, okay, this is good. For me, it's just always like, what else is there to do?
What's the next thing? Yeah. So I want to stay on the decorative art versus fine art, because what you've done is take what I think is fine art, but make it affordable. Yeah. And that's the approachable piece. And that I think is that's aligned to my business. I mean, we're about approachable luxury, and that's hard to do, actually. Tell me how you've managed to get the balance right between beautiful fine art that's interesting, that moves you, that's a conversation starter, but also then not broken the bank and being able to deliver, like, you know, in some cases it's scale. They're large works, but it really, what I think is super affordable compared to other galleries doing similar scale.
I think it literally just comes down to the experience of the artist. And I think what we've been able to do also in our consultancy project, and I will probably get to that, but my business now runs in parallel with the gallery and then the art consultancy side and the commercial art consultancy side of things that we do in hotels and corporate spaces and public art. And one of the things I love about doing hotels is that you have to somehow figure out, in hotels, the funny thing is I did my very first internship when I was studying with, they were called Graphos, so they were in Edgecliff, and they had an art consultancy as well. And so they did the A&A Hotel, and I did an internship with them doing the art collection for the A&A Hotel, which is now the Shangri-La. But they had $1 million budget. And that would have been
For art.
For art. No, yeah, not for the build. For the art. For the art alone, it was $1 million budget, and I'll never forget it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I could do. And I remember also I didn't realize at that time that's really what I wanted to do, but I was just fascinated by it. I'll skip to another point in that Art Bank had not long opened as well. And I'm not sure if every listener knows about Art Bank, but it's a public art collection essentially that gets loaned out, and they collect emerging artists. And it's, I think, the government's only self-sustaining department. And I did with COFA, I went and visited Art Bank. They'd only been open a few years, and I remember having this epiphany listening to them say they buy the art from the emerging artists and they place it into people's homes and corporate spaces and things like that. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to take art and put it into spaces. But fast forward to the emerging art question, in that when we're doing hotels, for example, we need to find artists who are willing to create 300 works for the rooms.
Do they have to be the same or similar? So
we've had emerging artists create 300 original works.
God.
At a price point that means it's doable for the budget. And believe me, hotels no longer have $1 million budget. You can chop that in about
a fifth. Has sailed.
Yes. Less than a fifth. So I love finding those artists who are willing just to give it a crack and go, yes. So they get a big chunk of money, but they still have to do a lot of work. So take out all of their costs, and they're still left with a good wage. We obviously make sure that artists have to live, and that's my other focus, is to allow artists to get to the point in their careers where they can give up their other job and be working full time. That was always my focus from the beginning, and it continues to be. But giving artists that we may not represent necessarily, and we try certainly to have our artists that we represent up there first, but, you know, stylistically or budget-wise, we may have to find other artists, which we do all the time, and work with them to produce a body of work that can be on a large scale or en masse, that allows these artists to get their work out there in a way that's affordable for the client and that gives them opportunity and also a really good chunk of money to live off. So there's so many aspects to working with emerging artists that I really, really enjoy. And it's not just the growth of them, but it's also what can we do for them now to give them that opportunity. So the artists that we work with now, it's like, okay, let's give you the opportunity to have an solo exhibition that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Yeah. But also, how can we place your works in environments that are meaningful, that lots of people get eyes on? Again, art for everybody. Get the art out into the public domain so that lots of people are seeing it. And how can we do that?
Let's talk about the duality of the business. So obviously you've got the representation of artists, you have the gallery. You also talked about the consultancy business. Talk me through that. When did that start? Did that start earlier on, or has that been a progression? And then what percentage of the business is that? Is that 50%, 40%? And what exactly is the offering of the consultancy?
It started very early on, but quite by accident. And it was a lovely offshoot of us having prices online, like I mentioned. So it meant that designers were coming to us. They could see what the prices were online. And also I did the loaning to the magazine shoots. And I remember hitting my breaking point in our little pinball gallery on the floor, wrapping artworks for a shoot, thinking, this isn't making me any money. Like, I'm just loaning this stuff and nothing's coming back to us, like, financially. And so I had to think of like other ways of like getting it out there. So the PR was great for our artists. We're getting stuff into magazines and continue to this day to do that, and which is a great joy from us. Every time we open up Vogue Living or Belle or whatever, we've got artists in there and they love it. They love it, love it, love it. But the art consultancy came from that because I guess of the loaning kind of like, and then we'd loan it to a shoot and then the client would buy the work, which is always a bonus.
I know. We've done that a few times.
We like that. But also it meant that designers started coming back to us and back to us. And we built those relationships with designers, with architects. And then I saw that that was going to be a really big part of what we did. So it was less about the high end, well, it was none about the high end collector who were going to be generational collectors who would stick with the big old school galleries, right? So I just had to go, not my people, or if they are my people, they're not my people yet. Okay, so let me just stay in my lane. Let me figure out how I can do this well.
This really well.
Yeah. Now we have incredible, proper, serious collectors working with us. So I just had to kind of bide my time to build it till we became a trusted entity, in their
trusted voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which we are now. But building the art consultancy side of what we do came kind of early on. It actually came in early 2020 when we were given the opportunity to show at Sydney Contemporary.
So that's one of my big questions.
Sorry, was that coming?
No, that's great because I want to talk about Sydney Contemporary with you because I've visited you almost this year. I was overseas, but every year I've been at your stand, found you. So I want to talk about that. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, not
Keep
at all.
going.
It became a huge turning point for me. So as I mentioned, 2015 hit the go button. 2016 did my first exhibition called Paper at Dank Street Studios. It no longer exists. It's now like apartments, as they all are. But fast forward to 2019 and Sydney Contemporary was only a few years old. I thought, what the heck? I'm an online gallery, but, I've done shows. We'll see what happens. And they had their futures section for galleries under 5 years old and we hit that. I was lucky enough to, I believe I was the first online gallery to be accepted in Sydney Contemporary. And we had a booth there with Kate Benazzi and Antonia Majak. And it was a real turning point for me because I realised I couldn't just be online.
That was the moment.
That was the moment.
Because that was one of my questions is what was the moment where you decided?
It was Sydney Contemporary. I was like, God, I love talking to people about the work. I need to get the art in front of people. And I can only do so much of that online. And online was great because it served me as a parent and it served the beginning of an art world that was more accessible. It served as the beginning and the seed of what would grow to continue that ethos of accessibility in art for everybody. But it really opened my eyes to the fact that, oh my gosh, there's all these people out here who don't know who we are, that won't even go online to look at the work. So that was a turning point. I'm like, okay, I can't remember how old the girls were, but I knew that I had to take that step.
And is that when you went into the pinball
So no,
store?
I was already in pinball by
you
then.
were in pinball.
Yeah, that's when I went into Redfern.
Okay, we need to talk about, because Redfern also coincides with COVID.
Yeah, with COVID.
So I want to talk about how you managed that process. And you touched on it last week at the 10-year anniversary in the speech. That impacted everybody, but it particularly impacted you because a lot of things were happening at that time. So take us back.
I will forever have that moment burned in my brain. It was early March 2020. I had been looking for a couple of months, well, probably since November 2019. So Sydney Contemporary was September, and I think a couple of months later, I was like, right, I've got to do this. So I've been looking for several months to find the right space. I think the girls were old enough now that they could actually walk home as long as they were walking home together. And I think my mum could drop them home on Thursday nights or something like that. So she was a huge help. And I forgot to thank Mum in my speech on Friday night. So I just want to give a shout out to my mum for all her support.
She was the photographer on the night.
She was the photographer on the night. She's been my photographer for many, many years, and I forgot to thank her. And I feel terrible. It's like my Oscar speech. I didn't get to thank my mum. So thanks, Mum. Thanks, Anne Graham. Don't cut that out. You have to leave that one in.
We'll leave it. I promise. No post-production on that.
So the girls could walk home. Like, it was like a big decision, you know, like I was leaving these girls and like, how could I do it? But as it turned out, I didn't have to leave them at all because we were locked inside. But early March 2020, I took a lease with a 300 square metre space. Now, I went from a 30 square metre space in Pymble to 300 square metre
holy
warehouse in Redfern. March 2020, signed the lease. You heard this kind of inkling about stuff, like, what's going on? I'm like, it's nothing. And I remember Tash, my first gallery assistant, she's like, Soph, I think we need to go home. And I'm like, no, it'll blow over. And then we're listening to the radio and she's like, no, we need to go. We need to go home. And I remember it, like, but I'd signed the lease, everything was happening, and we were in Pymble. And I didn't believe it. So we went home, and I think we did get locked down or something happened. I also remember fast forward to the end of March 2020, and it was March 30. And I had this vision for the art consultancy that I was going to grow that side of things, and we were going to get hotels, and we were going to get public art, and we were going to get big spaces and residential, and we're going to do it all. And I hired the most incredible woman called Claire Field, who is today still my senior curator and my right-hand gal. And, you know, she turned down a job with a very significant gallery in Sydney to work for me. And I still can't believe she did that. And we just were on fire. We're like, right, here's what we're going to do. And I remember us going to an event at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. It was Friday, the 30th of March. And that Monday, we all went into lockdown, the following Monday. And I'm like, I'm now paying Claire a crap load of money to build the business. I've just signed a $150,000 a year lease in a 300 square metre space that I can't open. And I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I think I'm just generally fairly positive. And maybe there's a little bit of denial. So Redfern became a very expensive storage space for several months, and we couldn't open till August. I couldn't get trades in to do any of the fit out. Like, it was a whole thing, as you can imagine. And Claire, meanwhile, is at home basically just cold calling architects, designers, project managers, developers, and just like basically building a database. And because people were home, everyone wanted to chat. So at first it was like horrific, and what have we done? And I'm hemorrhaging money, to, okay, we're now just thinking of this as laying the groundwork, and that's all we can do. Laying the groundwork. And what the really good news was, two things. We were already set up online.
Amazing.
So many other galleries, particularly the more traditional galleries, had to suddenly scramble to get themselves set up online in a way that they could communicate with their clients and collectors to purchase work and view work online. But we were already there. So we just hit the ground running with that. So we were doing what many other galleries were doing, like, you know, online exhibitions. Those 2 years were challenging for everybody in different ways. However, the visual arts were supported over that time. So because we were already online, that was a huge bonus for us, and an unexpected bonus for us, in that people could certainly still view work and purchase work online. You know, within my travel distance, I would still, when I couldn't get people in, I would pack the car up and go and show people in their homes when I was allowed to, get 10 people into the space when we could have an opening.
I was one of those people. I remember going, I think there's 5 of us that were allowed in at the time, and you'd done this beautiful fit out on this warehouse in Redfern. And it was.
But also we were the good news story of COVID. Like, I think, you know, that August we had so much great publicity with ABC coming in magazine doing a whole story on me, the Fin Review, the Sydney Morning Herald. Like we were the good news story because it was all really sad, obviously. But what idiot opens a art gallery, a physical art gallery at that time? But I'd already planned it and I was like, damn it, I'm just going to keep going and keep pushing. And, you know, all of those leads that Claire developed over that time then came to fruition 2 years later. So hotels that were stop work during that time, then we were able to develop and open in 2023 or 24, you know. So there was foundations laid over that time. That's all you could do. So it was a bit of a weird blip, but also quite a developmental stage for us as a business. Yeah.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, we're not going to survive this? I've got to fold, like financially?
I don't think like that.
Do you think was there ever a moment where you thought, we're hemorrhaging? I don't think I can sustain this. Not from the love and the passion point of view, but just purely economic point of view.
Daily moments. I know the husband is always very supportive. And I have to say that I've been very, very lucky that I have him at home actually paying the mortgage so that I can do this.
With that
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, absolutely.
You know, I can't. Our business can't pay a mortgage on our own and send children to school. You can do this on your own, but it's very challenging. And I think to have two small businesses in a family, or there was one point where he's like, I'm going to start a business. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You just need to go to work. You just need to go to work. Yeah. And because I'm doing this and you just have to go do that. But no, I will say that I couldn't do this on my own without him. Not, you know, I make all the decisions there, but he, certainly from a home
support
point of view.
from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine there are scary moments along the road of because you are growing rapidly.
And that's the scary thing. Like, I think because I've been slow and methodical, apparently I'm not slow, but I feel it's been a slow and methodical trajectory that, I actually remember my first year and I had no idea. I've never run a business. You know, as a magazine editor, you're given a chunk of money, you have to sell some ads, you get to pay illustrators and writers and photographers.
You manage it.
And you manage it, right? Like you manage a budget, but you're not like told to build a business. So I've not had experience with that. And I remember David saying to me the first year, he's like, I don't know. I was like, how do I find that out?
No zero accounts.
No zero.
Point.
He goes, well, go online to the bank account and just add up the income column. Like, that's how dumb I was. And I will tell you,
relatable.
I brought in $100,000 that first year. And he's like, you did what?
Wow, that's a lot for a first year of an online business.
That's a business, Sophie. Yeah. And I was like, because I think he just thought it was a hobby. Because I tend to start things and not really finish them. So,
well, you've definitely.
He's like, that's a business. And I'm like, are you really? Now I know. But I am completely dumb to business. Like I really was. Now I'm not. But you just figure it out.
Yeah, well, you learn, right? You learn and you grow and you start to get much more involved in the P&L and the cash flow.
Well, that's the downside of the business. I want to be out there placing artworks on people's walls, but no, I have to make payroll and do P&L.
Yeah, absolutely, because you've got a big team now, so there's a lot of mouths to feed, and I imagine, you've got to think about that. You have to plan for that. There has to be some element of strategy behind how you grow a business. So,
and it's quite unique. Galleries are quite unique in a way that you are supporting your artists. You feel very responsible for them. So it's a business where you're not just feeding yourself and your team. You have 40-something artists that you have to think about building a career for.
Yeah.
It's quite unique, actually.
It's a lot of responsibility.
And when it was just me and maybe one or two other people on my team, like it was easier to kind of really focus in on that. And then building that career and those careers and making sure that they're supported financially as well. What else can we do to build that? And of course, that continues to be our focus and our artists will always be our focus. But from a business perspective, you then have to go, okay, well, now I also have 10, 11, 12, 13 families to support, fortnightly, as well as our artists being paid for their work. So, yeah, it's a huge amount of responsibility.
Were you ready for that? Did you
expect
that that's what it would be like? If you go back to 10 years ago, 8 years ago, Could you have imagined this is where you would be 10 years in?
I think so.
So you always knew.
And I'm not done, Linda.
Oh no, well
There's
that's
so
one of
much
my
more to come.
questions.
No,
Sophie.
like I'm not sure I had a vision, but I certainly knew that I was going to grow.
Yeah.
What you're not ready for, I think, is what I wasn't ready for as a business owner, is really understanding the intricacies of HR. We've just had our first Curatorial Co baby, and I'm like, I'm having to fill out all these forms and log on to all these ridiculous government websites that don't work properly to try and get the paid parental leave. Like, I'm learning stuff I didn't even know about, So it's all that stuff that you don't know about until you have to do it, and then you just figure it out, and it's all fun. And you have to have a really good accounting team behind you. I didn't for the first 5 years, and realised what a mistake that was. But you can only go with what you get given or shown or recommended at the time. And then fast forward to my team now, my accounting team now, and it's funny, like, I repositioned the business thinking about ourselves as agents for our artists. That's a tax thing too, actually, because it means that we don't have, and I'm telling everybody this because I don't think a lot of people know it.
Can you explain this to me?
So we operate as agents for our artists. We don't take artworks on consignment.
Okay. So what does that mean from a business perspective?
So taking artworks on consignment from the artist, when we sell that work, we buy that work from the artist and then on-sell it to the client.
Okay. And there's a tax implication
There's a tax
to that.
Because artists many times are not registered for GST. So it meant I was then having to charge GST because I'm registered for GST to my client. However, I'm not paying out that GST. I'm not collecting that. I'm collecting it on behalf of the government, but I'm not paying out that GST to the artist. So I was up for what I now know, several $100,000 of GST that I couldn't claim back. So my very clever accountant, so this is for any gallerist or agent starting out, we act as an agent. So we sell the artwork on behalf of the artist. My accountant firm, actually, they are music manager accountants.
Okay.
And so they work in the music industry and treat me as a gallerist like I'm an agent, and any other artist agent, whether it be an actor agent, a musician agent, I'm an artist agent. So it means that I sell on behalf of the artist. So you'll see on your invoice, sold on behalf of the artist's name and their ABN. So it means if they are registered for GST, you'll see GST on it. If they're not, there is no GST on it.
Got it.
There you go. So you have to have the right people in your corner. And if you realise you have the wrong people, change quickly.
Change quickly.
Yeah.
Fail fast.
Fail fast.
And make those changes.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of a small business. You need to be agile. You need to be able to make those changes quickly.
And I think we do, and we do that really well. And I think I'm really open to that too. Like, I'm really open to ideas that come quickly at me. I'm not like a big organisation where things take a long time. If one of my team members has an idea, oh my God, we'll try it tomorrow.
Try it. That's amazing.
It's important that you do that. Like I said, I get bored easily, so let's just try it.
I want to talk about imposter syndrome. Do you have it? Have you had it? How do you feel about it now? How do you feel about where you're at now in terms of your career progression?
Yes, I think, yes, I have it. I'm learning to break through it, but that only comes with experience and the knowledge that you know what you're doing. And I think it took a long time for that to happen. And like working with Claire, building their art consultancy side of things, again, no idea what we were doing, just doing it with intuition. And we would give away our services. And we'll go, oh, don't worry, we won't charge you for that. And we're getting better at now having to do that, because I have now somewhere between 11 and 13 mouths to feed. I didn't believe I knew what I was doing, so therefore, like, I'll I won't charge you for that. But now I'm like, no, we're worth it. We use the term "put your big girl pants on" a lot.
Oh yeah, use that term a few times myself,
and it's really quite cute. And a few of our team members go, right, I'm going to put my big girl pants on and go and do this, and it is like this physical, like, right,
Yes, you do.
I'm pulling
Stand in your power.
Standing up. I'm standing my power. It's a physical thing. It's like, right, I'm doing this. I'm going to get on the phone. Claire had a great conversation with a client the other day where we sent an invoice for our time. He came back and said, why am I paying for this? And she was like, because X, Y, Z. And he was like, okay. So, but if we didn't have that conversation, it's a hard conversation to have. Money is so hard to talk about.
It's so
I can talk about pretty, beautiful art till the cows come home, but ask me to talk about the hard stuff about money, and it's tricky.
We shrivel up, don't we? We feel, I mean, I know, it's
Clients, design, all the same.
All of it. We're all the same. It's such a, but we have to break down that barrier because I think if you talk about money from the get-go, it demystifies it. It's just like, let's just get it on the table. Let's have the hard conversation. Let's move on and do the things that we really want to do.
And you're right. It has to happen early on. But because we're still evolving and developing our consultancy side of things, we didn't really know how it was supposed to operate. You know, I contacted lots of people for advice. No one would give me any advice. I was like, how do I charge for this? How do I do an hourly rate? It's such a closed world. It's such a closed world. And I know that, you know, in the design architecture world, you know, people share information and it's such a beautiful collaborative environment. But the art world and art consultancy world is not. And so we were flying blind. Now we know what our value is. So initially it was like, okay, let's try this. Did that work? Did it didn't work? Okay, were we charging too much? Were we not charging enough? Where does that sit? And I had my husband in the back who had worked in consultancy many, many years ago, and he's like, but what's your hourly rate and how many hours you've done? I'm like, I don't know. How do you count scrolling through Instagram at midnight, sourcing stuff for a client and ideas how do you quantify that? I was like, I can't put the number of hours I work on that. It's like, you got to get your hours. You need to know what the hours are. And I never really listened to him because he didn't understand the art world. But you know what? He understands the business world and he understands the consulting world. And the gallery stuff aside, that's different. But the art consultancy, we've now realized what we have to do. We have to understand that our time is valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we will turn down jobs if we realize that we're going to spend too many hours on something and not enough income on it. However, we'll also take stuff on if we think it is going to be good for our portfolio, or it's a pro bono thing or a charity thing or something where we know it will be great for our artists. Like, who is this good for and meaningful for? And what is the purpose of this? If it's for making money, great. If it's for other things and that's more important, then we'll decide to go forward. Yeah. So there's lots of things that come into that. And imposter syndrome is a daily struggle, I think, that most business owners, I would suggest, go through, or people that get to a certain level within a working environment where they're still working it out. But hopefully we all get to a point where we know our value, we know our worth, we understand that our knowledge is important, and I think we're almost there.
Good. That's really, well, it should be. It's been 10 years, so.
Yeah, you know, but people say the first 10 years are hard. Like, a number of business people I've spoken to say, you know, you get to 10 years and the 10-year point you either have a nervous breakdown and have to go quiet for a while, or it's the turning point where you realise all the things start to align and you go forward purposefully. You're no longer floundering or figuring it out. 10 years, I don't know what it is about 10 years, but just number of people I've spoken to, it's like, this is a defining moment for you. And yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this defining moment for you. What's the vision? What's, like, if you're looking forward, what are you thinking? Where is it at? What do you want to achieve for the gallery and the consultancy business? What's the vision?
I'm really passionate about taking our artists overseas. I think Australia is such a bubble. I think there's a number of Australian artists who've been hugely successful overseas, and I would like to give our artists the opportunity to do that.
I'd like to take a moment to set the scene. In the next portion of this conversation, Sophie Vander talks about her team prepping for Art SG. This happened in January of 2026, and we recorded this episode at the end of October 2025. Now back to the episode.
We're going to Singapore Art Fair in January called Art SG. And I've been trying for a few years to show there, and finally we've been accepted. So we're taking Morgan Stokes to show there. It's, already challenging just from the logistics perspective. We're figuring that out. I lived in Singapore, so I understand that it's a tricky environment to get things in and out of. So just going through the logistics of getting Morgan sculptures and paintings over there is interesting right now. I'm just a say yes and figure it out kind of person, which my mum instilled in me, hugely matriarchal lineage there. And she's like, say yes and work it out later. And I've said this before, and probably people are bored by that, but I don't know how we're going to do it. We're just going to do it, say yes, find a way. So I think showing our artists overseas, I think, is important to me. I think Australia has so much to show. I think Australian artists are incredibly talented, and we don't have the platform that they deserve. Australia is so small. We have almost our own little art market. Yeah. It's like our art market doesn't really relate to Europe or America. Yeah. We have our, what the artists are valued at here is not what they're valued at overseas, and vice versa. It's really tricky to navigate. It's like we have our own little bubble and we operate just within it. But I think our artists deserve more. I'd love to, take them further as well. I encourage our artists to find galleries overseas, and we work with those galleries, and we've done that a number of times working with those galleries. I'd love to have some kind of exchange program with other galleries overseas to bring their artists to Australia and take ours there. So there's lots of kind of overseas development that I'd love to do. And from an art consultancy perspective, I just really want to keep growing. To do more public art, get more of our artists' work out into the public spaces. Art deserves to be taken off the gallery wall. For me, the art gallery I'm not just a white wall gallery. Like you see, 17 metres of glass frontage, absolutely. You can look like we're a fishbowl. And I encourage our artists to do installation work and more experimental work in the space because it allows for that. Yeah. But we've also set up the gallery in a way that it's not like this kind of glary fluoro light situation. We love spotlighting our works in a way that feels really homely. We've got the space at the front that's like our dining room, and we love kind of encouraging people to think about the work in their own space. So the art kind of feeds into the art consultancy. So they operate in tandem and one feeds into the other. So my focus is always to get the artists out of the gallery space and onto people's walls for more people to enjoy.
I love your gallery because I think it's really, well, first of all, the location is amazing.
Finally, yes.
Seriously. So Redfern.
Yes, Redfern.
We went from Redfern to now William Street.
Yes.
Can you take me through what happened there? Yeah.
So Redfern, big warehouse, big leaky warehouse. Not ideal for showing art in. So every time it stormed, I would have to run from Pymble to Redfern in the middle of the night to make sure there were buckets under. But thankfully nothing was on the walls. The guttering ran through the centre of the gallery. So we just had to strategically place works not under the guttering. But it was a great first step for me because it did mean it was a bit of a doorbell ringing situation because I couldn't have... Galleries are retail environments, essentially, right? We're a shop and you have to have staff. You have to have people out the front. And I didn't have enough people anyway, to do that. So Redfern was a great stepping stone, also because it was COVID. But then the developers moved in and bought the space and then they were going to knock it down. And my 3-year lease was up. So it was actually kind of timely, and working with difficult landlords is pretty horrendous. And I got sick of it one day. I knew our lease was up and he was trying to get me to stay. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I've got an 18-month exhibition lead. If you're going to pull this down, I need somewhere to hang my exhibitions. No. So I got really annoyed one day and I just went out, made a couple of appointments, and I ended up in this space in Piermont, and I met this agent and I was like, this is not right, but here's what I'm looking for. Anyway, he called me a couple of hours later. He said, I've got an idea. And he was the agent for the space we're in now, 80 William Street. He was the agent who was leasing the office spaces above me. And he's like, I've got this idea. We want to create this really beautiful environment downstairs at 80 William. Will you come and have a look at the space? And if anyone knows that space, it was 20 years a gym supply shop and a print and copy and mailbox centre. I guess one of my strengths is that I can, as you as a designer would understand, you walk into a space that's bright purple and lime green with a drop ceiling and fluoro lights, and you can picture it.
Yeah, you can see it, the vision.
And I saw it. It was a funny situation because it wasn't about applying for the space. It was actually, I was interviewed. So the beautiful Saunders family that have been great supporters of us, that own the building, one of them came to visit me at Redfern to kind of interview me and see my aesthetic, and then the ball just kind of kept rolling and we kind of ended up there. So it was kind of an accidental meeting and someone else's idea that made it all happen, and I couldn't be more grateful for. It was meant to be.
That was.
If I can say one thing, is just talk to people, and you never know where you might end up.
You never know. It's so true. I've got lots of stories.
We all do, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't be shy. No. Just talk to people. You never know.
And you do that so well. You're a good networker. It's a very natural thing. I've seen you in environments, and you just have this warm nature about you.
Thank you, Linda. I can't not be. Like, I can't be authentic. And I think that's another thing about how do I choose my artists. I have to actually love what they do and love working with them because I don't think I'm a natural networker or salesperson. Like I think
it's selling.
If it comes from the heart, like I genuinely love what I do. Like, love what I do.
Yeah. But that's the point. Having those conversations over the years, it just feels so, it's pouring out of you naturally and authentically. And I think it's beautiful.
I really can't imagine doing anything else. And this will just keep building and building.
But I think what I see and what I've seen over the years is you are a natural born leader in a really inspirational way. And I can see it. I see how you are on the gallery floor with your staff, with your kids, with your artists. There's a real leadership, like it's a motherly leadership role. It's very matriarchal, actually. And it's beautiful, and not in a boss bitch kind of way at all. It's just really...
When I try and be that, I don't think I succeed.
I'm terrible at that.
I try and be that every now and again, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't very nice.
Let's not do that again. But no.
And I don't know how to be any other way. And I think my mother taught me that, and my grandmother taught me that, and now I have the girls. And they've been all in. They've all done the bar, and they've all been involved. They see what I do. All our team are female. 80% of our stable of artists are female. And it's not been a strategic decision in any way. It's just a natural part of who I am. And like I said, I can't do this unless it's authentic. I hate the word authentic, but it's like
it's
authentic.
But it is
real. Like real for me.
Yeah, real for you.
Real for me. And it's not say I won't hire a man. Like that is not the case. Like that will happen. And like, of course, my beautiful male artists who work with me, they have to be feminists too, and they have to understand that that's
the power of the female. And advocating for females, I think, is important.
We have a long way to go still.
Yeah, we do.
And I hope I'm showing my girls what it means to be a strong leader without being that boss bitch.
Yeah.
Label. I don't think you don't have to be that.
Growing up in corporate, when I left uni, I had a lot of wonderful managers and role models, but I also had a couple of really mean, not so nice leaders. And I just look back now and I go, it doesn't have to be that way.
Do you think it was because they were unsure of themselves?
Yeah, I think they didn't know any other way.
Yeah.
They did the best they could. They did it the way they thought they had to do it. I mean, it's 100 years ago now. But I don't think you have to prescribe to that at all. I don't think it has to be that.
Sometimes I'm like, I probably should be harder about that and, more fierce on the KPIs and more. But I don't think I could sleep at night if I didn't treat people with the utmost respect. And I think when people come and go from your life, whether it's artists or whether it's your team members, and people's lives change, things come and go, there's flux all the time and people come and go for different reasons. And I think it's more about how you break up with someone than it is about you hire someone, So as long as people can come and go in a way that they feel like they've been treated fairly and with great deal of respect and been respected themselves, then I've done my job. But holding on to people obviously is my aim and my goal, that we can all build something together. And I'm just, I'm just
a conduit.
Yeah. The sign of a good leader, hopefully, that I do is build others up. And I think to give others opportunity, and everyone within my team hopefully feels like that they have opportunity to move and grow in ways, because we're small enough that I can still go, got an idea? Great, let's try it. And that they're heard and respected, and that their ideas are heard. And it might not be now, but it might be later that we try that. I want to be that kind of leader that's open and, open to ideas. And I am as a person too. It's like, let's give it a go. Give it a try.
That great growth mindset.
I love it has, for me, everything is a growth mindset. I think if you're stagnant, then why bother?
Yeah. We are coming, sadly, to the end, but I'm going to ask you our very last signature question.
Yes.
What does Build Beautiful mean to you?
Yes. Knowing this was your signature question, I've been thinking about this a lot. And I have lots of answers, but I'll just keep it to one. And I think Build Beautiful, to me, I think beautiful doesn't mean safe. Okay. I think beautiful can mean challenge. I think it can mean getting out of your comfort zone. And I think it's arriving in a space that still feels good, but that you don't feel stagnant or safe in.
Yeah.
And building something beautiful is a process. Yeah. And a lot of that challenge will come into that path. But I think you've built something really beautiful, Linda. So thank you for having me involved in this.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you. That was amazing.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you for listening to Build Beautiful. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone who's building something meaningful. It matters more than you know. Follow us on Instagram at Build Beautiful Podcast. Until next time, keep creating with intention, and together we build beautiful.